Hey everyone. Thought I'd go live. Seems to be a lot of stuff going on about Liverpool. Also seems to be a lot of stuff going on about other clubs. It's really interesting. Thought I'd quickly do a live stream. I just think there's a lot that's moving about right now. Seems to be a lot of moving parts. Liverpool seem to be out of the race for a number of players, and I kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about that. So there seems to be a lot of chatter going on about the fact that we've moved away from Kepa and Thuram, we've moved away from Kone, and we're also interested now in Lavia. Just a little bit of context about the Kepa and Thuram transfer is we met with his agents. We also met with his dad, and we spoke to Kepa Thuram probably about 3 times now over the last couple of weeks. Everything's been agreed, pre-contract, and second phase of the contract was agreed. Everything was agreed with the agent, and also the bid was submitted to Nice, which was for 34 million. Nice said they would reply, and we said okay, and then we'll wait till the 21s are over, and then we'll kind of get it done and dusted, medicals, and then obviously photos and all of that kind of stuff. Nice then went around and touted him out while he was at the under 21s, touted him to Chelsea, touted him to Newcastle, also touted him out to PSG, and then made some bullshit rumour up about Bayern Munich, saying that Bayern Munich are interested. And then Bayern Munich came back and said, no, we're not. And it looks like also the agent has been going around touting him out as well, trying to get more money. The whole thing's a shit show. As far as I'm concerned, Liverpool don't really want to be involved in a club or an agent that's basically doing that behind our backs. It's not really fair on Thuram. It's not really fair on his dad either, who obviously wants him to come to Liverpool. I had a feeling that we might have dropped the Lavia links, so we released it to the press, and you've got all the local journos, especially around Liverpool, which will kind of release that, which kind of makes sense. Like if our media team have briefed up the journos and basically said to them, look, we want you to put out some information about the fact that we're looking at Lavia. And I felt like that was put in place to then make Nice go, ooh, there's a good chance Liverpool are going to go for someone else here. We need to act fast and get this player done, because nobody else is bidding for Thuram, because everybody thinks he's coming to Liverpool. So everyone's backed off because it's been made clear that he wants to come to Liverpool. I mean, the fact that Canate has even said in an interview that he's going to be his neighbour and he can't wait to start playing with his brother, you know, you have to read the room. And the room was basically saying the guy's come to Liverpool. So the fact that all of that shit's happened, and in my heart of hearts, I felt like that was just posturing by Liverpool to push Nice into pushing the transfer forward, because look, they don't want to lose their asset, but they also want to get money for their asset, and no one's bidding for him, and they want to bid him more. then 34 million for a player they paid, I think they paid like 12 million for, is an absolute, it's a lot of money. It'll be one of their biggest transfers as well from Nice. However, some of the journos that have now come out saying that Lavia's pretty much done, you've got Melissa Reddy. That's Sky Sports. That's not a local journo. That's a mainstream journo. You've got people in France reporting it. You've got people in Italy reporting it. It's only going to be a matter of time until you're going to have Ornsteins and you're going to have Joyce and you're going to have those guys that are going to report it. I mean, David Lynch was on Redmen TV today, only a couple of hours ago, saying that Lavia's pretty much done deal. Like, David Lynch is probably one of the best journos out there right now for Liverpool. He's the guy that reported on the fact that we went for sale. He's the guy that reported on McAllister, like before McAllister was done. So it looks like Roman Lavia could be a red. Now, we can talk about Lavia because a lot of people are not happy with this signing. I'm a little bit skeptical about us going in for a 19-year-old as a DM. However, this guy knows how good he is. This guy turned around and said to Pep, I went out of Man City because I want to play first team football. And he was 18 years old and he knew he was ready. He knew he was ready for the big time. And when Pep signed him, Pep spent a lot of money on a 16-year-old. And he knew this guy's destined for big things. This guy, for me, is ahead of Caicedo in a timeline. Caicedo's come onto the scene 2021 and made a name for himself. You've got Lavia, 18, coming onto the scene and making a name for himself. He's only just turned 19. So he was playing Premier League football for Southampton. He didn't have a bad season. He had a really bad hamstring tear and it put him out for like 3 months, I think. And that kind of derailed his season, and it kind of derailed Southampton, if I'm honest. But he's put out some really good performances. And if you're looking at Liverpool as a club now, we've got two potentially world-class players for the next 2 years in McAllister and Sabolsai. And then obviously we've got backup in Jones, and also, you've got backup with Elliott or Henderson in those areas. And then you've got the DM side of things, which we're all a little bit concerned about. So you've got Fabinho. If you've got Lavia as his understudy, and then you've got Trent as well, and then you've got Stefan Bajcetic, and maybe if Thiago stays, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That's not a bad side. Can't really complain about that. You give him 6 months coming in and out and breaking those minutes up for Fabinho. I can see Lavia being really, really special. I really can. And it also looks like this is speculation, by the way. Okay, this is how I feel things are moving through a lot of stuff that I've read and seen about. Is, for me, Lavia's going to be 45. Okay, Southampton want 40, and we're putting 5 on add-ons. Okay, they want to get 40 as a minimum because Man City will pay 40 next year for him. That's a done deal. They got a buyback. Man City have also got a large chunk of the sell-on fee, so that's why Southampton want to recuperate as much as they can, because Man City will take, I think it's 15% of the transfer fee that they make. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 15%. Now, if you look at the dynamics of this, you've now got us looking at Thuram, which was 34 million. You've then got us looking at Kone, which was roughly 26, 28 million. You've now us going in for Lavia, which is 40 million with 5 million add-ons. I feel like we've agreed a structure with Southampton where we may pay half and half, which means we've been given a green light for a defender, which is going to cost more than we thought we were going to pay. Now, if you read the room, we've now dropped out of the Van der Vey transfer, which is 22 to 25 million. And we've now dropped out of Thuram, which was 33 cash up front. 22 was cash up front. 26 was cash up front. These are all cash up front deals. If we've managed to get a structured deal with Lavia for 20 million, maybe 10 million to start off the first year, then 10 million, I don't know. But if we've got a structured deal with Lavia, that means we've set aside more money for a defender. And it's now come out that Inacio's got a £39 million release clause. And it's also come out now, and a lot of people are picking it up. Levi Colwill wants to leave Chelsea. It really looks like we are going for a homegrown player as a centre back. And for me, Colwill fits that bill. Lavia fits that bill because he's not homegrown, but he's under 22. Those two players would fit perfectly into the team. Our quota would stay good. The Inacio deal, I know it's getting talked about, but I don't think Sporting want to do business with us because Klopp pissed them off with Ugarte. like they weren't going to sell Ugarte to us. Like, we can all sit there and go, like, he was made for us. He was the perfect player for us, and he bloody was. But Klopp tapped him up and got reported to the Spanish media, and there's issues with tax as well because of what we did. So we really burnt our bridges, I think, with Portugal in Sporting anyway. So you need to look into that as well because there's more information on that, and I haven't looked into it enough. But I don't think the Inacio deal will happen because of what happened with Ugarte. And also, Sporting are trying to get Inacio on a new contract, which means that his release clause goes from 40 million to 60 million. And I can't see us paying 60 million for a defender. I can't see it. Anyway, so you look at Colwill. Colwill is definitely something I think that could happen. I really do think that could happen. And you know, Chelsea are trying to get Caicedo, and they don't want to pay 80 million for Caicedo. So they're trying to throw players at Brighton, but they don't want to give them Colwill. And he's the player they want. So Brighton are now looking at McTominay from Manchester United. So I know it's not what we want to hear, but Caicedo could end up at Man United in a deal where McTominay goes to Brighton and Caicedo goes to Man United with like 50 million, 60 million. Because Man United have only got 180 million as transfers, and they want to get Højlund, the Norwegian lad, who's basically like supposed to be like Haaland, but he's not. He's like a cheap Haaland for 40 million, and they want to get Caicedo or a midfielder to that ilk. So I just think that's a really interesting one. So watch the space on that. Also, there's rumours that Rice is a potential off. Arsenal have got trouble with paying the fee, and West Ham won't budge. So that one's bubbling over as well because it's not been released yet. It's not been announced. It's not been announced. You know, everyone thinks that Rice is going to Arsenal. Aren't you a little bit concerned that it's not been announced yet? Like Kai Havertz was announced pretty quickly. The transfer window's open now. If the deal's been agreed and they're in London, like why hasn't there no more information about it? So Rice could go on a long time, or it could be off. Just don't know. Arsenal had to get a bank guarantor to push this through because it's 105 million, which is just an insane amount of money for a player like who's just not that good. I'm sorry. Like, anyway, so a couple more things about Liverpool, which I find really interesting, is do you remember the leaked video that came out of the dressing room with all of the shirts hanging up? What I find really interesting is the shirts that had the old jerseys on were Matip, Gomez, and Thiago. And then all the others that had the old shirts on were Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Keita and Firmino. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that Matip's now linked to Turkey, and Besiktas's director of football has been over in Liverpool discussing how much he'd want for his contract. It's not a coincidence. Steven Gerrard is now a manager in Saudi Arabia. I think Gerrard's first signing is going to be Gomez. I really do. He wanted Gomez at Aston Villa. Gomez's career is in the toilet at Liverpool. Like the Liverpool fans don't want him there anymore. He's down to fourth place in the pecking order, maybe even fifth. Like honestly, if Colwell comes in, Gomez is gone. Okay, and Klopp did say recently that transfers may take all the way till the end of the window. So we just have to wait on that. And now it's come out that Thiago's turned down a contract in Saudi Arabia already, but not at Gerrard's team. So that's a really interesting one. You know, there is potential for Thiago to go. And he was one of the shirts, which was the old shirt, not the new. All of the players that had the old shirts up in the dressing room, a lot of them are linked to leaving Liverpool and a lot of them have already left. So this could have been a big faux pas on LFC's behalf of putting out that video. It's interesting. Hendo's not leaving. I'm sorry. Henderson's not leaving for Saudi Arabia. And as much as I want him to, Hendo is too interested in his own image. He wants to be that player. He wants to keep his England place. He wants to be seen as a role model and an icon. And him buggering off to Saudi Arabia for megabucks doesn't make him look like an icon. It just makes him look like he's chasing the money and he's going for an early retirement. Hendo's not leaving anytime soon. I'm sorry. I think what's really interesting as well is there's a lot of other stuff which has come out. I would also think that the Arda Güler transfer, where he's going to Real Madrid, like he was never coming to Liverpool. He was never coming to Liverpool. We weren't gonna pay a 20 million euro release clause on a player who's what he's not going to get ahead of Diaz. He's not going to get ahead of Salah. He's not going to play in the attacking midfield when we've just got Sabulsai. And if you look at our reserve players, we've got Doak, we've got Gordon, we've got Elliott, we've got Curtis Jones that plays there. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. Like that was never going to happen. Good luck to him. But for me, he's pissing his career down the drain because how's he going to get ahead of Vinny and Rodrigo and what's his name? Valverde. How's he going to get ahead of him? He's not going to get ahead of those players. Never going to happen. So good luck to him, but he's going to be in Real Madrid's B team, and he might get the odd Champions League game or the odd cup game. But if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. But he had a choice of Barcelona and Real Madrid. Fair play to him. Another interesting one is you look at Tottenham. So Tottenham look like they're going to sign Taposa, who's a centre back. They're looking to spend 60 million on this guy. Like 60 million on a centre back from Germany, Burkina Faso international. Like, we've just got a player for 60 million who's potentially the next Kevin De Bruyne, and you've got Tottenham spunking 60 million on a centre back no one's ever heard of. Like, I think we just have to understand and realise now that we are doing some shrewd business. We are doing some incredible business right now. Like if we get Lavia and Colwell, I mean that is a stunning window. I mean that is really a top draw transfer window because you've got 2 first team players, boom, straight in the team, cooking from day one. You've got Lavia, who's back up for Fabinho, and if Fabinho's having an off day, Lavia comes on. Bosh. You've still got Curtis Jones cooking. You've got Elliott, who's still around. You've got Stefan Bajcetic. You'll have Henderson. You'll have a decent midfield there that's still capable of winning games. And then if you look at your centre backs, you've got Konate, Virgil van Dijk, and potentially a Colwell in there. That's a really, really good side. And then you've got Andy Robinson still there. You've got Trent, who'll be available. I haven't even talked about Trent in the DM as well. I always seem to forget that, that's a position that he could definitely play next season. And at the end of the day, like if we don't sell Nat Phillips, I'd be happy for him as our 4th choice centre back. I'd be happy for him to be our 4th choice centre back. I really would. Like he's never had a bad game for me. But there are rumours that Feyenoord are looking at Nat Phillips and also Leeds. Now, the interesting thing with Leeds is we're being linked with a potential player, Nat Phillips, and money offer for William Gonto. So William Gonto's quoted at 20 million. Like he is basically like he plays in the position of Mo Salah and also Diaz, and he can also play up front. So we've got a very versatile striker who's only, I think he's like 19 years old and he's an Italian international. He's a really, really good player. He could be an option but I just feel like we're kind of stacked in that area now. But then there's also talked about maybe the potential possibility of them getting Nat Phillips and us taking Charlie Creswell, who is I can't remember his name, but there's a Creswell that plays for West Ham. It's like Liam or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he plays like a left back or a right back for West Ham. He has done for years. Anyway, so there's talks of us maybe taking him, who's 19 years old. So he's another player which has obviously got potential. I think that's an interesting one. But the thing about the Feyenoord conversation is Feyenoord's got a player called Gertruda, who's a Dutch international, who's been linked with Leipzig. He's a right back and a centre back, and he's potentially going to replace what's his name, Guardiol at Leipzig. So he's potentially going to replace him as a centre back. But we're now linked with Nat Phillips going to Feyenoord, and we've been asking whether this guy is available as a option to offset some of the money, and we pay some extra because I think he's available for like 25 million. So that's another potential opportunity we have there. And I've just read your chat there. Sorry, I haven't brought any of the chats up, guys. Alex Scott, absolutely fantastic player. I think he's got a really high ceiling. I think he'd be a really good player. We've never been linked with him, Scrapes. We've never been linked with him. I can see that kind of player going to Aston Villa. I really can, like a Villa or a Brighton. Like I can see that kind of player going there. We've not been linked with him. I've not heard anything about him, like from a Liverpool side of things. It's really interesting. But those kind of players we've been linked with, I think's really interesting. It's those kind of links which kind of make me feel, there's something going on, which is potential. And also the thing about the Kone deal is Kone got a kick on his knee, which was on the patella, and he's still waiting on scans on the ligaments. But if it's not too serious, then, and we haven't done the Lavia deal, I still think Kone could be an option. But the only thing about Kone, and this is probably what we're looking at as well, is this will be his 6th injury in the last 3 years. And the other injuries haven't been too serious, but they've been those type of injuries which Keita got. A muscle strain or a pull or a tear or a stretch. The niggly ones which go on and on and on, and then you lead to another one and you lead to another one. I just feel like he could be a bit of a disaster waiting to happen if he keeps on picking up small injuries over and over again. Because they're the kind of injuries which worry me the most, because that's what Jota gets. Jota gets a lot of them, and then just out the blue, bang, he's gone for like half a season. So I feel like maybe he's one that we might have looked at in more detail and just swerved. I wouldn't look into any Italian stuff. Like, we are not linked with any Italians. There's no Italians coming to Liverpool. Okay, that's gone. I mean, from Italy. Okay, the Amrabat deal. We had his agents over twice during the World Cup, and it then went back to him. It was his choice, and he said he only wants to go to a hot country. and he only wants to play for Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid, or Barcelona. And it's all about the logistics for Amrabat. He's not coming to the UK. He's not interested. He wants to stay in the sun. It's fine. It's fair with him. He's Tunisian anyway, isn't he? So he wants to be around that area. Maybe he's got family in Tunisia and he wants to go back and see them a lot. I don't know. I don't know how the logistics work there, but I think Amrabat's a very, very good player. But he is 26, and we are looking at that couple of years younger. And also, it's the homegrown piece as well now. We now have to look at the homegrown thing, and we do need to look at the homegrown thing in a little bit more detail, because if we're now starting to look at players that are linked out of Liverpool, we're now down to 2 slots, and we are now down to 5 homegrown players, because we've lost Reece Williams. He's gone, and apparently Sepp Vandenberg is going to Mainz or Schalke. He's another homegrown player. And then if we're then going to put Gomez into the equation, and there's rumours about Henderson, we're then down to like 4 players. Like, we need 7. So unless we're going to start, signing 38-year-old English goalkeepers, loads of them, like Man City do, then we need to start looking at getting that number up, which means we need to start signing some British players, which makes me think that Colwell is definitely one we're looking at. There's others that we could be looking at, and the way Liverpool do business, it could literally just be out of the blue. Like, a player that I'd love at Liverpool who's homegrown is Musa, who plays for Valencia. He came through the Arsenal youth team. He's 22 years old, American international, had a brilliant World Cup for the USA. I know USA didn't do well in the end, but he played really well. Same as Tyler Adams, but he's homegrown. So that could be a real option, and he's available for like 20 million euros apparently, because they need to get rid of some players, because there's a lot of Spanish teams that are in big trouble. So that's another one to look at. At the end of the day, I feel like we're linked with a lot of players now. There's a lot of rumblings going on with certain individuals. The guy from Germany, Nicholas Waper from Mainz, that we were linked with, he's 18 years old. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. So you can count that one out. That's never going to happen. Another one which I did mention before in a couple of other shows is Pavard. Pavard is split 50-50. Klopp isn't keen, but George Smacked really wants him. Like, George Smacked is really pushing Klopp to get Pavard. We could have Pavard for like 26 million. He's 27. He's a French international. He's won a lot. He's won the World Cup. He's been to Champions League finals. He's got a few problems injury-wise, but is he better than Gomez? Is he better than Matip? I think he is, and he can play centre back. If you move Konate over to the left, you put Virgil in the middle, and we have Pavard on the right centre back. Is that an issue? Or if you move Pavard as a right back, and then you play Trent into centre midfield or DM, is that an issue? Like, Pavard's a quality player. Like, let's be honest, there's a lot of teams that would want him in the Premier League. Like, he's the type of player that I thought Man United would sign. Like, he looks like one of those players that Man United would sign. Pavard's a decent player. He would be a great squad option, but he would want to play. Like, he's not coming to Liverpool to sit on the bench. He's not going to be a Shimikas. The thing about Shimikas as well is, why do we have him now? Like, I don't understand this keeping this player, because if we're moving to a back three, or we're moving to the inverted right back position where Robinson plays more as a centre back, and we're now looking at left-sided centre backs, that means that that's going to be a formation next year. That means that we are going to be looking in that area to play that type of football. Where does Shimikas fit in? Like, if Robertson's going to be getting phased out because we're going to be playing a left-sided centre back there, that means Robinson's not going to be around after next year. We could get 25 million for Shimikas. He's a Greek international. He's their first team player. He's a really good player, played the right way. He got 6 assists last year in like 28 games. You know, he's a good player. He's a good squad player. Like, I've got no issue with him playing instead of Robertson if we played more of a left back, right back, like wing back roles. He'd be fine. But this left-sided centre back role, he's not going to fit it. So why are we keeping him? I don't understand it. That money could go towards Colwell. That money could put another 10 million on top of the Colwell deal. Colwell's going to cost 50 million. Like, he's not going to be cheap. He's 20 years old. He had a brilliant season for Brighton. He's in the Euros now, the under-21 Euros, and he's brilliant. He's going to be a real star, and he's going to break into the England team probably in a year or two. Like, he's going to be very, very special. He's got a really good pass on him as well. He's really controlled, great tackler. He just looks composed. It for me feels like a young Virgil van Dijk, if I'm completely honest. Like, I know probably that's a little bit out there, but it feels like a Rolls Royce. Like, he's another one off the conveyor belt of Southampton that's destined for Liverpool, just like Oxlade-Chamberlain was. Just like Lallana was, just like Mane was, just like Lovren was, Ricky Lambert, the list goes on. He came from Southampton youth team, so he's got no affiliation to Chelsea. He's got 2 years left on his contract. I could see it happening. I could really see it happening. It's crazy though, because like, I was thinking about a perfect transfer window for Liverpool a couple of months ago, and I was literally sat there going, "Oh God, Sabulsai would be amazing there. Wouldn't he be a great marquee signing?" We got him, and then I'm sat there thinking, McAllister. I've been talking about McAllister for like 2 years. We got him, and then I'm sat there going, "God, Levi Colwell's been incredible for Brighton. He would be amazing as a centre back for us." We're now linked with him. The only one is Thuram and Kone, who I've been talking about for about 2 years. But, we've been linked with both of them, and we've agreed contracts with both of them, so either or could happen. It's the Lavia one which is interesting. It feels like if we've got a structured deal with Southampton, with Southampton, sorry. If we've got a structured deal with Southampton, everything's linked to Southampton. All roads lead to Southampton with Liverpool, don't they? Like, whether we like it or not. So if we've got a structured deal with Southampton, then we're going to put more money towards the centre-back position. And that could be Colwell. Could be Levi Colwill. I'm just saying it. The funny thing is about Southampton as well is it looks like Chelsea are going to try and buy a player that they sold for 12 million for 25 million back from Southampton in Liverpool. Newcastle have offered 20 million and Southampton have said no, and Chelsea have offered 25 million. So, Chelsea love buying players that have sold, don't they? That's like a thing that they do. They did it with Lukaku as well. Anyway, I thought I'd do a live show tonight because there's just a lot happening. There's a lot of buzzing around. I just thought I'd talk about it for a bit. I'm doing a live show tomorrow as well with Jerry James show at 5:30. If anyone wants to tune in, you can check me out on there. So that'll be fun. I'll be talking about Dominic Szoboszlai more. I can give you a bit more information on him if you drop it in the chat if you want to know, because I've done quite a lot of research on him and I've been following him for a number of years. So if you want to know more about him, just message me in the chat now and I can talk about him for a couple of minutes. Just let us know. And if you've got any questions, just drop them in the chat as well. I'm more than happy to kind of answer a few things if you've got any questions for me. Big up Fozzie, hope you're well. Oh, did he? Oh, okay. So he's got 1 year left till he's homegrown. Okay. Well, that would still make sense because he's still under the age of 22, Scrapes. So we could still do well off that deal. Yeah, I think Phillips is due a move in. Let's be honest. Poor guy's been hanging around for years. It's been a bit unfair on him. I mean, the amount of crap games that Gomez has had, like back to back as well, and we didn't put Phillips in. Like Phillips has always been solid. Like he's always been solid. Like the amount of games we've been beaten by long balls, high balls, crosses, because Gomez is just useless. Phillips never loses a header. He's like Terry Butcher with his bloody head in games. Like he puts his head where feet are, and yeah, I don't get it. Like I just don't get it. I don't get why he never got more time. I just don't understand it, but it is what it is. So you want to know more about Szoboszlai? Okay. So just a little bit about him. I'll tell you a little bit about the person because I don't think people know about the guy. So he broke into the first team in Red Bull Salzburg when he was 17. He's not a flashy person. He still uses the car which he got from Leipzig like 2 years ago, which isn't a flash car. I think it's like a Volkswagen. It's not a fancy car. He was on like 3.5 million a year at Leipzig. He signed for them when he was he signed for them just before he was 20. He played for 3 years at RB Salzburg with two players we know very well. One of them is Minamino, who was a kid when he wasn't a kid, but he was like in his early 20s when he was at Salzburg, and Erling Haaland, who was 17 as well. So you've got Szoboszlai when he's 17, Haaland when he was 17, and Minamino. And they completely tore it up. They won 3 league titles in a row and a couple of cups. And they also featured in the Champions League quite a lot. and I think you'll remember about Minamino and also about Haaland in the Champions League. We seem to forget how good Sabolsai was in the Champions League as well, and he was 17 years old when he was playing in the Champions League. A little bit more about him. So altogether, he's done about 240 odd appearances in total. Scored about 64 goals, 65 goals, about 67, 68 assists. So his assists kind of match his goals. So he's in and out really. He's either scoring in games or he's assisting in games. So you're either going to get a goal or an assist. And that's probably going to happen 1 in every 2 games. So you've got a real clutch player. You've got a real standout player that steps up to the plate in the big games as well. So he's not married. He hasn't got any kids. He's obviously 22, but a lot of players who are 22 can end up having like 4 kids. Like, you know how it works. Like some of the footballers get married early and that. He's just got a girlfriend. He's really close to his mum and dad. He got his big move from Bobby Salzburg when he was just before he was 20, and that was a 20 million euro signing. Now, for a signing like that at such a young age, you'd expect maybe a little bit of bedding in time. He just went straight into the first team and just started tearing it up. Him and Nkunku had this telepathic way of playing. They played some incredible football. Leipzig, as we know. And there was a little element where Naby Keita was... No, Naby Keita wasn't there, actually. Naby Keita was sold before that, and he came in after him. Yeah, that's right. Konrad Laimer was in that midfield as well. And Timo Werner was there last season. But it was more the relationship with Nkunku that kind of worked, and the relationship with Konrad Laimer, which worked for Leipzig. He won 2 Polko Cups, which is like basically like the FA Cup in Germany. They won 2 in a row, and he was also in the team where Leipzig came second behind Bayern. And that was basically how he got on there. He had some really, really stellar games in the Champions League. He had a game against PSG where they drew 2-2 at Paris's ground, and he scored a 91st minute penalty. And if you ever want to look at the highlights on that, you should have a look at what he said to Neymar, because Neymar asked him, "Are you going to score?" And he turned around and said, "I never miss." And then he put it in the corner and scored, and they drew 2-2. And if you want to look at some highlights about him as well, all you need to do is just look at the games that he played against England for Hungary, where they tore us apart 4-0 and 2-0. He was key to those results. And you also have to look at the fact that he came into the Hungary team. He's played 34 times for them. He came into the Hungary team, and ever since he started playing in the Hungary team, they qualified for the World Cup and the Euros and have beaten some big teams like Croatia and England, and they've had some really big results. And if you want to really look at Hungary, it isn't a huge country. It's not a massive population, and they haven't got a lot of players that become big. Like, I can't name really many. We've had Nemes. Do you remember him? Like, I can't remember many Hungary players. So it just feels like he's a star, and we got him. He was destined for Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. I'm telling you, destined for a big club, really big club. And I just didn't see him. I really didn't see us getting him like in England. I just didn't see him coming over to England. But it's now come out that Marco Rose, who's the manager of Leipzig, he was the manager of Salzburg when he broke into the team when he was 17. And he said that he would come to Liverpool, like him and Haaland would sign for Liverpool in the future because they were just perfect players for the way Liverpool played. And we got one of them. We also got Minamino as well, but we got rid of him. But I just feel like it's really interesting that we got this guy over the line and kind of threw the smoke screens over to Gabby Veiga, who's going to PSG, by the way. That's pretty much confirmed. So Gabby Veiga, everyone was looking over that way. We were over this way doing negotiations with Carvalho, and then obviously going, we're gonna trigger that release clause on your guy. Really interesting thing about it as well is he got a £20 million increase on his release clause in 2021. I didn't know that. So he was a lot cheaper when they first signed him, but he got an injury, and during that injury, they re-signed him again onto another contract, and they got the release clause increased from 30 million to 60 million. That's only just come out recently, so that's another interesting fact about Szoboszlai. But I'm going to go because my dogs are barking, and I just want to have a little catch up with everyone. But appreciate everyone that's tuned in, asked some questions. If you're not a subscriber, if you can please subscribe. I'm close to 100, and 500 is the next milestone. But for me, 100's a milestone. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button because it does something for the algorithm. I don't know, but it does. And yeah, I'm going to do another show probably in the next couple of days, probably when we sign someone else maybe. But if you want to check me out again, I'll be on Jerry James' show tomorrow at 5:30. And I'll be talking more about Szoboszlai then as well. Okay. But from me tonight, have a nice evening, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Bye-bye.